You're listening to First Gen Second Thoughts. I'm Arishma, your co-host.
I'm Raja, your other co-host.
And this is a podcast about two humans trying to heal who also happen to be married. We're hoping to help build a community of other people who can resonate with us or any part of our story because we believe that everyone deserves to live a happy, healthy, and healed life. And from our experience, we know that therapy can help with that.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. I hope we're able to be, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking for both of us here, but hopefully we are able to be the people we hoped to have when we were going through the very early stages of therapy and I entered therapy.
Like a shaman or something. Just to help.
Ayahuasca, but
but just to help with the guidance and things you don't hear about other than starting it because well, I guess organically, can we just dive into what you thought therapy was going to be like?
Yeah, sure. Probably. I thought therapy was going to be probably what you see in the movies with a lot of crying, a lot of tissues in an office where I'm laying down on a sofa and there's someone sitting next to me taking notes. I did not have a realistic perspective of therapy whatsoever.
Not a realistic perspective.
Yeah. Compared to what I know now. Yeah. And how about you?
I thought I was just gonna go to this person and they were gonna tell me what to do, how to do it, and how to cure it per se, right? But then when this fool was well, you gotta look inside, and I was inside where? And he was within yourself, because I'm just a sounding board, and I was so you're not just gonna solve stuff for me? I gotta do it myself. It's all work at the end of the day. But what we get to choose is the type of work that we want to do. Because we could choose to do hard work, fun work. And I find this to be fun work. And I'm very sparky right now. So I don't know if you could tell. Juiced.
Yeah.
I am happy. I'm so excited to be here right now.
I think we've waited a really long time.
You sure have?
Yeah. And I think we've always asked ourselves, is it the right time to share our experience? Is it worth it to share our experience? Yeah. And I think now us being in the mindset of well, why not? Let's just try. So hopefully us trying has a positive ripple effect, for anyone that's listening to this. And maybe we can dive in a little bit deeper because it's very obvious that we are in therapy. I will say very actively so. You want to share your exposure and re-exposure to therapy?
My original exposure? Yeah, I can totally do that. My original exposure was when I was a child, 8 years old, and a little backstory. My mother passed away of cancer at me being 8 years old, she passed away of cancer, and she was relatively young too. And that's one of the things that first gen kids boomer parents specifically, they just keep pushing through regardless of what it is. And I think my mom did the same thing. I think about it in retrospect with her health too, where it was that's gonna cost some money because scarcity mindset, all those kinds of things with immigrant parents. And so now that I think about it, it was probably one of those things. But after she passed away, a lot of things went sideways, and not sideways, it was a downward spiral. My father lost his mind, is the nice way to put it. Well, and we can dig into all those things eventually later. But it was during that time period and my father's actions were not the best choices that led me and my sisters to foster care and abandonment and just a lot of things, and staying with family, friends, and relatives because my dad was unstable and not fit to take care of us. So with that being said, and also being in the system, it was recommended that therapy was needed for children who are going through a lot, which sounds admirable on paper. But boy, oh boy, it's a whole different story when you're experiencing it. And I chuckle because I don't know what else to do, and I think I'm all cried out of that specific experience. And yeah, it was hard because it's a lot of people that just started as a therapist or psychoanalyst, so it was more intern work for them. Especially being part of a government thing, being a kid in the system, unfortunately, the system. So I just practiced guinea pigs for interns and stuff like that, which I felt was not the best approach. But here we are. Then after that, I was I tried therapy once, Granted, it was when I was really young, and I was like, it's not for me because I was just a number, and I don't want to be a number anymore. I want to be a person. And then it was my wonderful wife that was like, maybe you should give it another try. And me being pretty resistant, I'm not going to lie. Very resistant, I will not lie. Just about like, and I tried it, at least I tried it, and it's not for me. But she was very smart in being like, you tried it when you were a kid. You didn't try it when you were an adult. And I was like, damn, I guess you got me there. And so being reintroduced to therapy was after we moved from the apartment to our house, because I was dealing with a lot as far as the apartment where I was finally able to rest my head, the apartment where I was finally able to sleep through the night. And that's something that just, my survival instincts got me to a point where it was safe. And I thought that was it. I thought being safe was the goal, and it was for a little bit. But after being married to my wonderful wife, it was more like, yeah, no, you're safe now. And you've completed survival mode. Now welcome and enter to thriving mode. And I was like, there's a part 2 to this. I'm not ready. But I pushed through. I struggled a lot, but I'm here. And we're here, most importantly. And yeah, it was when we got the house and the adjustment from the apartment to this. Because, again, I was stuck in a scarcity mindset where I was like, I don't want to lose any of this. And I want to be able to manage it. And it kind of feels a little too large for me to manage on my own. And I was very focused on doing things myself, by myself, solo, as far as like home and clothing, food, that kind of thing, where, again, very survival mindset. But thriving is when we made that leap into getting this house and doing the thing and making it happen and making it work.
Yeah. So your reintro, then your first initial exposure was in 98, 99?
No, 95.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. You were 8. Yeah. It was more than 20 years.
Yeah.
Initial intro to therapy, the concept of it was, through movies. Like I mentioned earlier, I cannot place the exact movie, but I see it in my mind's eye. I literally see someone on a sofa laying down and there's the therapist on the bench right next to them and taking notes with their glasses on. And me going to therapy, it was actually when I was in college. And it was through, I literally just remembered it this morning. It was called the CAPS program. CAPS. Okay. Yeah, it was on campus. And I remember hearing about that during my campus tour that I went on with my dad after I had accepted admission. And that was my very first time onto this campus, which is my dream school. Spoiler, I went to Davis here in California.
Go Aggies. Yeah. My cousin's going to hate me for that. Whatever, Nina.
I love you so much, Dean. But yeah, I remember hearing about that and I was like, oh, okay, that's available. And then I was in a, unfortunately, very toxic relationship at that time. And I had reached my breaking point. There was an era of self-medicating with alcohol specifically. And I woke up one day and I was like, I need help. And so I remember going and making an appointment at the CAPS office. They didn't have anything same day. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize this is how it worked. I thought it was drop-in for some reason. And then I got an appointment within 2 days. And I still remember what that office looked like. You open the door and there was a really cute cozy rug in the middle, and then there was a chair or 2 chairs on either side of the rug, and then on the opposite wall of the door it was her desk and stuff. And she was this really kind, adorable, sweet, petite little woman, and I sat down in the chair, and I will never forget this because I sat down in the chair and I looked at her and I was like, oh, is it okay for me to sit here? And she was like, yeah. And that was my first inkling. And then her response, actually, she was like, oh, you're really considerate of other people, maybe a little too considerate. And I was like, excuse me? That was my very indirect introduction to the people-pleasing aspect of me. Yeah. And then I remember we were going through the session. She was like, what brings you in? And I told her, I feel like I'm in a really toxic relationship. And the person that I was in a relationship with at that time literally called me on my phone while in session And I showed her and she looked at me and she was like, well, how does that make you feel? And I had never in my life been asked that question before. I mean that. And I feel like that's a very common first gen experience coming from immigrant parents, which is, part of what this podcast is about. Yeah. So that was jarring. And I got scared for a very long time. And I actually never went back to her office. That was my first and last therapy session I had while I was still in school.
Wait, sorry, why were you scared?
Because having to actually, I knew I felt a lot of things, but having to outwardly express them and talk to someone about them and dissect them was very scary to me, because that meant I think I had a degree of emotional intelligence to realize I think I'm going to be dismantling everything that I thought was real my entire life.
Comes
down, and then I feel like this is also a very common first-gen, American-born experience, where when you start dismantling or start questioning all the things that you've known your entire life, there's that layer of betrayal that you feel to your family, to your culture, and all of these things. And that was way too overwhelming for me.
I see.
Yeah. And so I ran away in my red flats. I still remember I was wearing blue jeans, red flats that day. And then I didn't consider therapy until at the height of COVID. Actually, at that time, I was permanently working from home. I was already in tech at the time. I think I'd been in tech almost exactly a year at that time. 2020.
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, Feb, March. Yeah. So it was just about a year.
Yeah.
And then you were still working at the hospital, so you had to go in, which was really scary. So that left me alone with my thoughts. And yes, I was working and it was busy, but I was physically alone, and that was something also I was not used to. So and I feel like a lot of us had that experience during COVID where your demons kind of came up because you had idle time, and there weren't fillers and all that stuff. And so so I started therapy then. It's been probably about almost the full 6 years that I've been working with my therapist, and that I remember my first session with her was very scary too. Yeah, just knowing at that time why I was going and what was bubbling up for me. And one of the things was having a very strained and uncomfortable relationship with my mom specifically, and being scared of how that would progress as my life progressed, because we were married for just about a little bit more than 2 years at that time, 2.5 years or so.
Yes.
And she had a health scare too, and right before the health scare I was starting to wean myself off of what I now know is enmeshment, and that is also, I feel very common
across the board. People not realizing it because it's disguised as love, it's disguised as caring, it's disguised as so many things that it seems to mean well, but it's really about control. Yeah. And it's about other hidden agendas.
Yeah. Yeah. And I understand that immigrant parents, they try to do the best they could with what they had. But I will speak from my personal experience. I see and understand that my parents' resources, especially as parents, were very limited, and their resources as children of other parents, my grandparents, was even more so limited. So they grew up in third world country. My parents are from Fiji. My dad migrated here in the mid 80s. They got married in 87. And then my mom came over in 89. And then I was born in 90.
No time wasted.
Yeah, so there was that. And so it was a lot of having to put names to things. How we just talked about enmeshment versus, you literally just mentioned it, versus control. Right?
Yes.
And I thought it was just a lot of control versus / being an overbearing parent and not trusting me because I'm a girl and all of these things. And it kind of just it literally ripped my reality apart. Those first few months of therapy was really, really hard. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's very unsettling because then I don't know. I think I went through like a mini identity crisis too, because it's like, so if I am all of these things, if I like have experience in enmeshment and all, and all of these things, like what are the sum of all of these things now? Like who am I, right? So yeah, that was my intro to therapy.
Wow,
yeah, that's what I say too.
Well, I'm grateful that you did it.
Thank you.
I'm grateful that you're still doing it, and I'm grateful that you took that leap and that chance on yourself.
Thank you. Yeah. My life's motto is always bet on yourself, so I had to.
I'm still gathering money to bet on myself, so here we are.
What?
Cool.
Can I share a tidbit or a memory that I have of your journey to therapy?
Well, I mean, with that beautiful grin you got on your face right now, yeah, you kind of...
Okay, so do you remember, I had started therapy, I want to say I was in therapy for like a few months at the time.
Sure.
And we were still living in San Francisco. I think we were actually getting ready to go look at houses. Again, like this was like at the height of COVID, right? So like the housing market like was experiencing a big boom, especially going out of like a metro city.
Yeah.
And so
you had to be there.
We knew we wanted to be homeowners. We didn't know when it was going to happen. And then like, the stars aligned. And so we started like seriously looking. And while we were going through this process, I remember we were in my dinky little Civic on Oak Street. The one thing I cannot remember is like what had come up. And I remember turning to you while I was in the passenger seat, because I'm a passenger princess. Let's be real. I did a lot of driving to and fro San Francisco when we were dating.
All for a boy. Go figure. Go figure.
And you were like really upset, and I was trying to like help you through it. And then I remember turning to you and being like, I don't have the tools that you need. I love you and I want you to be okay. And I want you to feel stable. I want you to feel grounded. But like, I don't think my tools work for you. And that's okay. But you got to go do it. Yeah. Do you?
I do.
Well, that's a key piece you left out of your story.
I sure do. Yeah. And it was just kind of like the realization of, I have an inner voice and I also have an outer voice telling me something very similar. So why am I still fighting? Right? Why am I trying to do this uphill fight battle where it's like, I can solve things on my own because I had to all before. And it's just like, you're not there anymore, dude. Those tools were useful for a certain amount of time. And guess what? That chapter is closed. It's been closed for a while now. So if your tools are rusty and dull, it's time to sharpen them. It's time to update them. It's time to get some new tools. And that's okay. People think like you gotta hold on to stuff. And growing up with boomer parents, it was very much so like loyalty to like what you used first because
boomer immigrant parents.
Sorry,
that's a very key part of that mentality too.
Thank you for that clarification. But it was very much so like you keep pushing through no matter what. Just do it. Pick yourself up by your own bootstraps. Just go, go, go. No time to think about feelings. No time to think about anything. You got to make money. You got to buy property. You got to have a family. And then you got to look good. Like optics is what I mean. And then that was it for them.
Yeah. Okay.
Do that off of one person's salary. You can't do that shit now. I just want to say that. Yeah. I do remember that conversation. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like those are your hesitancies, right? And mine was having been raised by boomer immigrant parents, being told like if you're having mental health struggles, first of all, like the phrase mental health was never brought up in my household, right? Never, ever, 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 ever. That wasn't real. But being told like if you're going through mentally, like we heal it naturally. We don't take medication. We don't do this. We don't do that. Like people who go to therapy are crazy. And that was a very unhealthy perspective for me to be given. Like I didn't even have a choice because I was just a child hearing these things. And that's something that I think we'll dive into, in the next few episodes is like the things that we heard around mental health. Or the things we heard in general that landed us in therapy. Yeah, and like this like just resistance to accepting any type of help when it came to your mind and it being unwell. And it's really interesting because like these are the same people that have diabetes and instead of fixing their diet, they'll take, I don't know, 8,000 milligrams of metformin a day. And it's like, you could just, try to fix your diet and not rely on pharmaceuticals, but here we are.
Same people giving health advice that have diabetes.
I mean, and look,
Just saying.
I'm not trying to make fun of anyone that has diabetes. It is the mentality around receiving the help that is very troubling. And so that, and I do understand also that like their opinions and their perspectives that they shared with us were formed by the lack of resources that they grew up around. And I think it's hard to transition from that type of world, right, and that culture and that environment, and then coming to America where these resources are available, but it's so deeply taboo and it's so scary because the unknown, of course, is like very challenging and scary to like think about. So and that actually, like, it used to frustrate me that was the reality, the side effect of their reality that I had to face. But now it just really makes me feel sad that's what they thought and felt. Like, these resources are here, but I'm not supposed to touch them because it's just too scary or it's so taboo. Like, what are people going to think of me? Log kya kahenge?
Say that again?
Log kya kahenge? Yeah, and it's always just like the opinions of others, and it's like other people don't know what's going on in your mind, and that's not fair. Like, stop giving them free real estate in there. Do you remember any versions of me when I first started therapy?
Huh?
What was that like from your perspective?
It was a little bit fear-based and like anxiety-ridden, but like also you knew that you had to do it.
Wait, who was fear-based? You or me?
Both. I'm kidding. No, I think you just had a lot of anxiety around it because you had to like face something that you knew you had to eventually, and it was kind of like, why not now? Yeah, when I was working at the clinic and I would come home, you'd have that whole like 8 hours just to like reflect, and then when I got home, you kind of like looked like kind of like zombie-like because that's all that you were doing. It was just thinking about stuff, and it was like, that's great, but like you also didn't know you couldn't like take a break, right? Because it just kept going because there was so much that you had to unwind and unpack and like all the things. So I feel like it was that, and then watching you get lighter and lighter through every session, even like the hardest ones, even the ones that you were like, well, damn, I didn't know that, or just kind of like, no, I knew that was a problem, and I'm glad somebody else like confirmed that for me. And I feel like that is what like therapy is all about. The validation part, if I may interject. No, please, go ahead. I think that was in the beginning the biggest thing for me when I started therapy, and I was like sharing my experiences with my therapist and like how they made me feel and whatnot. And she was like, yeah, no, that's completely understandable. And as to why, and like me saying like, I think these things were really like unhealthy. And her validating that. And I'm like, oh my God, everybody else was telling me no, that it's normal. And so I was, and especially my mom. You can say it louder, that's fine. It was my mom. Yeah, that's okay. And so I had been like gaslit my entire, like my intuition kept being shoved away from me constantly from a very young age. And that's really crappy because now as an adult and as a mother myself, actually, my intuition has quite honestly like never steered me wrong. And I sometimes do wonder like if I was just allowed to listen to my intuition and I had autonomy to make my own choices, like who I would be and where I would be right now. It really makes me wonder. Yeah, and I think that's, perhaps I don't think that's a unique experience at all for me. And I think that's a very widely shared experience with a lot of us first gen American born kids. And it's just it's such a hard position to be in. It is a very hard position. What are like the top 2 or 3 most difficult thing you had to unpack and you didn't realize you were like that was something to unpack? Enmeshment. Okay, tell me more. Yeah, enmeshment. And there was also the what was marketed to me as disciplining from my parents was actually abuse. And then also I had some like pretty traumatic experiences at the hands of some family members. So that those were probably the 3 biggest things that I was like, oobly, like this is hard because I
I loved my family, and I still do very much so. Like, the family that I come from is just different now versus before. Because I am very low contact currently with the family that I come from, and we will dive into that more. But yeah, back then, that version that stood it and was true and was real, I should say, it was really different, and it was grounded on like, well, we love each other, so we need to be all up in each other's business, and that's actually not healthy. But, you know, like, it's kind of like that experience of like, when you're like a young professional and you happen to like live with your parents, or you're like in a multi-generational home, everyone knows what you're making. They allocate your paycheck for you, and you have no say over. And that's true. I know that sounds like such a wild concept probably to some listeners, but like, it really is true. Like, that's a very real thing that happens within our culture. Yeah. And so the enmeshment thing was really hard. And it's really hard also to like explain it to, I will be very specific here, like to my immigrant parents, because that is just how they grew up, and they don't understand that there are negative side effects to that, and the fact that they actually have experienced the negative side effects to it too. I think that's scary for them too, in like their own right, and I completely understand that. I can see how that, you know, how that's a thing for them, and that fear. But yeah, it's just a, you know, a bummer. There that level of like enmeshment and, you know, abuse, unfortunately, was very normal for them. Yeah. And then they, you know, passed it down to their children.
Ugh. And that is the type of cycles we will not perpetuate.
No.
That's the type of stuff that we hope everyone can recognize, first and foremost, and then do something about it. Mm-hmm. It's going to be challenging, but it's always worth it in the end. Mm-hmm. Yeah, even if you feel like you're going in the wrong direction, trust your gut, trust yourself, love yourself, know yourself. And that takes a lot of time. If I may, one of the things that I realized I had to unpack was my inner voice. And how effing mean it is. It was just like, well, damn, why do I feel like that? And it's just, it sounds like me when I close my eyes. It looks like me, or like kid me, or whatever, right? But it's very much so old programming of my father, who really hated himself. And as a kid, that's what gets imprinted on you, is how your parents behave around you as a kid, and how they go through a hard time, how they receive, you know, bad news, or how they go through a difficult process, or how they deal with a layoff, right, or something, or whatever. Yeah, my dad just chose all the wrong choices because he needed a lot of help, and never chose to get the proper help. Well, the other thing I was going to say about therapy is that it truly teaches you that you can't really hate a person after you realize the tools that are in place, the resources or lack of resources that people had.
Yeah, what's stacked against them.
Specifically our parents at the time. And then therapy will help you humanize not only yourself, but everyone around you. Your inner circle, your second circle, the dotted lines, everybody in your life. And you'll be able to evaluate and water the relationships that matter, and recognize the ones that water the same relationship back. And I think that's the most important part, because being like first gen, it was always like, hey, we're here and we got to stick together no matter how I treat you. And it's like, on second thought, maybe not. Maybe we are okay without you, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we're okay without you just for a limited amount of time. But that just kind of goes over a lot of immigrant parents' heads. Yeah. Even people in our generation, where it's like, but those are your parents. And like, you guys just had a baby. And like, what, like, you know, your baby deserves grandparents. And it's like, yeah, they deserve good grandparents. Not saying like they're bad, but it's like they deserve the best version of their grandparents, right? In that sense. Yeah. And not have to deal with all the stuff that they're still struggling with. Yeah. And inadvertently passing that down. Inadvertently having that ripple effect. Go ahead.
And second thought, actually, you were talking about like it teaches you what relationships to water for yourself. And then you said the thing about like, well, you're always supposed to be here for us no matter what, right? I actually think, for me personally, I'll speak from my experience, the most important relationship I was taught how to take care of in therapy was the one with myself. Because I stopped abandoning myself.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The most important relationship I learned how to take care of through therapy was the one with myself. Like, truly. Yeah, because once I started to understand who I was, what my values or what my boundaries were. Yes, big trigger word for a lot of people. I understood how to have a healthier relationship with myself because I had a better understanding of who I was on a whole. And then I knew exactly what I was presenting to other people because I created that. It wasn't created for me by somebody else, aka a parent of mine or, whatever.
Sure.
Or a version of me. Yes, I understand, like, we all, code switch and all that stuff. I completely get that, but I know my essence. And I learned that through therapy. And I learned the things that I liked about myself versus the things that I did not. And for the things I liked about myself, I learned how to amplify that. And for things I didn't, I learned how to change that. I learned how to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that. And then after that, that is when I learned how to properly water my relationships, because me knowing who I am helps me see other people for who they were.
Circling back to the humanity.
Yeah.
Part. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was like quite a process, I want to say, because like all of these things are happening concurrently, for me at least, in therapy, where it's like I have to unpack all of these areas of trauma for me, and then I have to figure out who I am and who I want to be, and like how did I even end up like this. And yeah, it was a lot to tackle. I came with a lot to the therapy table. Bless my therapist, I love you so much. Yeah, it was hard. Yeah. I mean, to go back, like once I figured out the relationship with myself, things really took off me.
Any amount of work that's worth doing is always going to be hard. It is going to be a level of difficulty that is going to challenge you. It's going to be a level of difficulty that seems overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's going to be a level of difficulty that you can accomplish, that you can get through, that you can truly do it. And again, this goes back to the inner voice. Right? And the fact that you talked about that your relationship with yourself. Yeah. And not abandoning yourself. Yeah. Like, Lord Almighty.
Yeah. Being first gen comes with a lot of self-abandonment. A lot. And sometimes you have to like do that multiple times a day.
All while still trying to work. All while still running your life. All while still trying to be there for people. All while you're still trying to be there for your folks and family and all the things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was really hard.
Life is wild.
Yeah. Like, I'll even venture to say, like, or share a specific example of self-abandonment. I think probably, like, one of my earliest experiences of what now I kind of understand to be self-abandonment was when I was in elementary school, right? And I have to go to school, and I was an overachiever in every way, shape, and form. I was forced to be. I had to be perfect. I would go there, go to a very diverse school. I was very, 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 very fortunate to go to a very diverse elementary school. Do good, learn English, like learn all the American things about American history and whatnot. And then I come home from school and I instantly have to switch to being this good little Indian girl that spoke Hindi at home, that learned how to use the washer as soon as I was tall enough to reach the knobs, and did the dishes and all of these things. Yeah. And that's a bummer. Like, that is like it felt like living multiple lives / having multiple identities. Like, I couldn't marry all of the facets of my life together at any given point. Like, it was so separate. So I would have to abandon school Arishma the second I came home, and then when I would go to school, I would have to abandon home Arishma who ate with her hands at home. Like that was hard.
Yeah, there's a lot of hat switching.
Yeah.
There's a lot of flip switching. Yeah. For a kid that's like, well, why can't I just be all of it at the same time, right? There's
and then getting reprimanded or bullied.
Right. For even thinking of it or even trying to question it. Yeah. And I know, like, we may or may not have some boomer listeners that are like, well, she went to school, she learned great. What's wrong with coming home and learning about tradition, learning about what your family wants to instill with you, and this and that and the other?
I'd answer that. You want me to answer that?
Well, I was going to help answer that too.
Okay, you answer first.
Yeah, which I think is great. But there's also ways to do it without it being so detrimental to your child. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like being, like, if I, came home Like the common experience of like crying over your homework, right? If 2 plus 2 is 4. It's like if I brought home homework that I didn't know how to do and I was looking for help with it, being yelled at for bringing that quote unquote problem home. Yeah, and it's like I need help, but but then like my parents' frustration with me not being able to figure it out, because it's like, how do you not know this? Didn't they teach you at school? And it's like, yeah, but also I am a developing child and I need help, and I'm coming to you for help. Like, who, if I don't go to you, who am I supposed to go to?
I don't know if you noticed, but like my frontal cortex is
no. Yeah. Like I didn't, you know, and then now thinking back on it, like they were very emotionally dysregulated, obviously. And I think a layer of that was the fact that they felt insecurity and shame that they didn't know how to do their second graders math homework.
Again, the humanity.
Yeah.
Right?
It's sad.
It is sad. It's very sad.
Yeah.
But this is what we get to talk about, are the sad things. And we get to process them in this form, in this way. And also...
Yeah. Also, I would like to add a layer of me and my lived experience that forced me to go to therapy. I'm an eldest daughter of immigrant parents. It is a double whammy.
There it is.
It is very hard. Mm-hmm. It is quite the cross to bear. And I still, even after years and years of therapy, like I still very much so struggle with the things that were instilled in me as an eldest daughter. Like it is, you know, a very deep part of my identity that I'm still trying to tease apart, and I'm trying to make it healthier, a healthier part of my identity. Yeah, it came with a lot. Like I'm also the first in my family to go to college, and to graduate. I'm the first in my family to do a lot of things, and I'm very proud, and don't get me wrong, I'm also very grateful for what my parents, like, you know, pushed me to do, but it did come at a price. I just heard this saying, like, a week or two ago, everything you see, there was a price paid for it. And for mine, I can very confidently say that the price that I paid to have what I have now throughout life, well, not so much like in the current or in the present day, but like back then, it was paid for by my mental health and my sense of stability.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned all the things that you were first for, right? For eldest daughter, first to graduate, excuse me, first to go to college, first to graduate. Also, first to go to therapy.
Yeah.
Let's make that very clear.
Yeah.
But then also sharing your therapy story with family and friends, and then also inspiring them to do the same.
Yeah.
Look at that impact that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Like, I truly believe as humans, we deserve to be able to live happy, healthy lives and to feel good inside of our own minds. Like, I think that should be a common human experience. At the very least, I really think that all of us deserve that. Yeah, and I just hope to be a positive influence in that sense. Because when you take care of your mind and your feelings, like, everything else follows. Even the way you care for your body and the way you show up. And all the roles that you play as a person. Like, I think a lot of it starts with taking care of your mind and your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And life is going to continue to life.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's about the emotional toll of how you are able to deal with it, how you're able to get through it, how you're able to not only just prepare, but like, because you can't prepare for surprises, right? In a sense. How you deal with things on the spot. Yeah.
Yeah. That actually brings me to like a question I have for you. Like, because you've dealt with a lot of surprises / spontaneity in your life, right? Where you didn't really have a say of what was happening. A lot of things happened to you.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah. So, excuse me, could you maybe share the differences you see now and like how you handle surprises or curveballs in the present day versus you did, like, let's say even when you were in your early 20s, like pre-therapy you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's truly no longer trying to fight internally with myself. No longer trying to make my feelings fit this box of like, you're a man. You cannot cry right now. There's no time for you. Wait until you shower at nighttime to let all your tears out, okay?
Not laughing at you.
No. But I like to tell jokes, and that's my way of coping. But yeah, no, like literally that, where it's like, you shouldn't have to cry. Be a man, right? Like, that whole thing from like Mad TV. Like, that's a thing. I'm not No, don't even go there. It's no longer fighting with yourself and letting things come as they come, as things bubble up, because that's what human experience is about. That's what human emotion is about. And I just got done reading the emotional intelligence book, or how to deal with immature
adult children of emotionally immature parents.
There it is. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife. Thank you for that. Yes, a wonderful book. And truly, and just letting things happen when they happen, but also knowing how much you can address it in that moment. So for example, if I'm like dropping off our daughter, right? And something's triggering for me, or like I miss my mom because I wish she was here to see like, you know, her granddaughter like go to class or like hug her friend or whatever. I let myself feel whatever I need to feel in that moment, and I hold it back just a little bit until like I get back in the car, and then I can address it then, because it's A, it's still fresh, B, it needs to just kind of course through my veins in a way, and it's like a release. It's like a, was it somatic or something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. And so old me would be like, oh, that's really cute, not going right? Oh yeah, wish mom was here, but guess what? She's dead. Oh, you gotta you gotta just be a man and just deal with it. That's the cards that you've been given. And it's just like, nah, dude, I'm gonna fold that hand of cards that I was given, and I'm going to build my own hand of cards. I'm not gonna let life just deal me cards anymore. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's where you take reins of what you can control in your life. And I'm not saying you have full control over your life, but you do have full control over your emotions if you work on them. If you practice that, you literally, like, physical exercise is mandatory, and so you have to also exercise your emotions. You have to exercise your mind and exercise your spirit, and I feel like the emotional part is a little bit of both of the mind and the spirit. When you think about it. Yeah. Granted, you can physically lift weights and, like, you know, get your emotions out that way too. Absolutely, 100%. You figure out what works for you. But on a deeper level, it's truly about facing yourself. That's what life is all about. It's not about, competing with other people. Competition is fun. It's great. And that's just like another fun layer of life. But what's really important is you versus you. That's what matters. Old you versus new you. Right? The way that you treat other people, the way that you continue to treat people, or the way that you want to treat people, but you don't know why you're so snappy or mean or whatever. Look inside. A little deeper. Keep going. It gets weird. It gets scary.
Yeah.
But you can do it. I just got chills again.
It's like an internal acid trip.
Hire shaman. How do you feel?
I feel good. This idea of ours has been incubating for so long, right? And to actually, like, make it come to life is wild in, like, the best way possible, and I'm really excited. That's also how I feel. I feel very excited about starting this journey, and, you know, again, like, hopefully building this community and hearing from people within the community that we built, and, like, you know, just hoping to be a positive force in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just for one person who listens to this. And we only have one listener, if that's the case. Like, but if you take it and you do something with it, and you either start therapy or don't even start therapy, but you take something away from this, like, that's incredible. I have done what I've hoped to do. Yeah. How about you? How do you feel?
Like I said earlier, I felt juice when we started, and I still feel static, and just the juice is flowing. Like,
I can literally see it on your face.
I know it's.
Yeah.
It feels great. It feels good.
It feels right.
Yes, there it is. Really happy that we are doing it. And I know I talk about Gary Vee a lot, right? And I just want to say, we're doing it. Gary Vee made me do it. If you don't like it, you can answer to him. I will tag him in this whole thing, and watch. I'm going to have a whole conversation with him, just like I've had with a certain CEO in the past few weeks. And we'll talk about that some other time, after I sign some documents.
Yes.
But yeah, life is what you make it, so keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And then just give it a shot. Like, just try. That's it. Whatever it is. If you're thinking, I'm gonna go try, I don't know, something even as, like, little as, like, a different flavor of bubble water today, go do it. Who cares? Go do it.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? And know that we're proud of you. And you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah, because odds are you are probably not going to hear that from your parents. I'll be real with you.
Yeah.
You're probably very successful financially and all those other kinds of things, and you're doing it. You're here with us, and we appreciate that.
And you'll hear about a specific experience of mine probably soon about the whole being proud. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah. Well, we hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening. Please rate, comment, subscribe, share with anyone you think would be remotely interested in what we're trying to do here, what we're talking about. This is quite literally, it's an experiment for us to see like the impact that we can have in like a good way. All right. Any second thoughts, hun?
Yeah. I wish I didn't feel so shameful when I started therapy like as an adult. Because on second thought, there's nothing to be shameful about when you really learn more about yourself and learn to love yourself. Yourself, honey? Any second thoughts?
Yeah. As hard as it was for me to start therapy and restart therapy, I think I will always wish that I had started sooner. However, on second thought, I think it's really important to trust the timing of your life, because if any other version of me would have tried therapy again, I don't think it would have panned out the way that it has for me now. So go out there, do something. We're proud of you.
And again, you have been listening to First Gen Second Thoughts with Arishma and Raja.
See you next time. Bye.
Peace.